It was a morning like any other. At least, it seemed that way at first. The early sun painted golden streaks across the grand windows of Windsor Castle, casting long shadows on marble floors and velvet-curtained halls. The royal household was in motion, maids polishing silver frames, butlers preparing for the day's quiet protocols, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, already immersed in her calendar of engagements. But something was different today. Something called to her. She couldn't explain it. It wasn't marked in her planner. There was no official business guiding her steps. And yet, she found herself walking through the lesser-used corridors of the West Wing, following a strange pull, as though something or someone was gently guiding her. As she reached the corridor near the Royal Archives, a faint scent lingered in the air, jasmine, roses, and something older. Something nostalgic. "Ma'am." The royal archivist emerged, startled to see her. "Oh, I'm sorry," Catherine said with a small smile. "I didn't mean to interrupt." "Not at all, Your Royal Highness. Actually, we've just begun cataloging some of Princess Diana's remaining personal effects. Items that were stored per her wishes and sealed away by the late Queen herself. You're welcome to have a look. Many haven't seen the light of day in decades." Catherine's pulse quickened. She hadn't expected that. Diana's name always struck a chord deep within her. Reverence, admiration, and something more personal. As the woman who once held William's heart and faced the pressures of royal life head-on, Diana wasn't just a figure from the past. She was Catherine's quiet guardian in spirit. "Where are they being kept?" she asked. The archivist gestured to a side chamber. "In there, ma'am. Though there's one item that we've never been able to open. Perhaps you'd like to see it?" Catherine nodded. They stepped into a room untouched by time, stone walls lined with tapestries, dust-laced light filtering through stained glass. In the center sat a lone trunk. Modest, whitewashed, brass hinges dulled by age. No royal crest. No official markings. Only a delicate handwritten phrase across the lid, in Diana's unmistakable script, "For her." Catherine froze. Those two words danced in her mind. For whom? Her daughter? Herself? Someone else? The trunk's presence was magnetic. She dropped to her knees, heart racing, as she brushed her fingers over the worn inscription. The lock gave way without force, clicking open like a secret eager to be found. And inside was a legacy. Layered within that unassuming chest were mementos, each one intimate, each one whispering a fragment of Diana's story. A velvet pouch containing a rose-shaped brooch. A small music box playing a lullaby Catherine didn't recognize. A pair of handwritten letters, bound with aged ribbon. And a sealed envelope marked in red wax, not to be opened until she asks. But what made Catherine's breath catch, what sent a rush of tears to her eyes, was the first letter. On the front, "To the girl who will carry the burden I couldn't." She unfolded it with trembling hands. "My darling, if you are reading this, it means the palace finally allowed what it feared most, truth. Or perhaps you found it by chance, as I did with so many truths of my own life. Quietly, painfully, and far too late. But you're not alone. I am here, in these words in your fire, and in the legacy you carry unknowingly. You may be my granddaughter, my son's child, or perhaps the daughter of the woman who gave him strength. Whoever you are, you were born into a house that polishes its image while locking away its cracks. And yet, you are more powerful than they know. This brooch, this rose, is more than jewelry. It's a key, not to a door but to a story. Our story. Yours and mine." The words clung to Catherine's chest. Her vision blurred. She knew, instinctively, that this wasn't just a keepsake. It was a message passed through time, bypassing protocol, strategy, and royal spin. Diana had spoken beyond the grave, carefully, powerfully, and purposefully. Catherine reached for the velvet pouch. Inside lay the brooch, golden petals hugging a diamond center, delicate and timeless. Turning it over, she gasped. To Charlotte. From grandmother. It felt like the world stopped spinning. Catherine clutched the brooch as a wave of emotion overtook her. Tears streamed freely. This wasn't a coincidence. Diana had envisioned this. Somehow she had known. Long before Charlotte was born, she had left a piece of her heart for the girl she would never meet. And suddenly, the sealed letter made sense. It wasn't meant for Catherine. It was meant for Charlotte. But the question remained, how? How did Diana anticipate all of this? When William entered the study later that evening, he found his wife curled on the settee, surrounded by letters, the brooch resting in her palm. Catherine. She looked up, eyes red, lips trembling. She left it for Charlotte, she whispered. Diana. Your mother. She knew. He stepped forward slowly, taking the letter from her hand. As he read, the color drained from his face. He dropped into a chair, silent. I remember this brooch, he finally said. She wore it once. Just once. She had come back from a trip to France. She never spoke of that trip, but she seemed different. Lighter. Then, the brooch vanished. Do you think she had it made for Charlotte? William stared ahead. Or, for someone she hoped would exist. Someone she didn't get to meet. Over the following weeks, Catherine immersed herself in Diana's letters. She read them late at night, often alone, sometimes with tears, sometimes with silent awe. They weren't just notes, they were confessions. Echoes of pain, resilience, warnings. Diana had predicted the challenges of the future. She foresaw the press, the politics, even Camilla's rising influence. But what shocked Catherine most were the omissions. There were hints, subtle, deliberate, of a child. Not William. Not Harry. Another. Someone the palace had deliberately erased. In one passage, Diana wrote, "If they ever find out about her, everything will unravel. But she is safe. And one day, Charlotte will understand why the truth had to sleep." Catherine's hands trembled. Who was she referring to? And what did Charlotte have to do with it? Desperate for answers, Catherine reached out to Diana's sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale. She hadn't spoken to Sarah in years, not since the last family ceremony, but this was different. Urgent. They met in secret, far from prying eyes, at a private estate in Sandringham. She left a letter for Charlotte? Sarah asked, her face unreadable. Catherine nodded. Sealed. Marked not to open until Charlotte asks. Sarah looked away, as though fighting with ghosts. She told me, once, that if anything ever happened to her, and her daughters were ever found, the palace wouldn't know what to do. Daughters? Catherine asked, her heart thudding. Sarah sighed. There were rumors. Diana once confided in me, briefly, about a clinic visit in 1983. A fertility assessment. Private. Highly confidential. William wasn't born until the next year. But Diana feared that her embryos had been used without consent. Catherine's eyes widened. You're saying Diana may have had another child? Possibly, Sarah whispered. A daughter. Born in secrecy. Raised far from the crown. Catherine's world spun. And now, Charlotte was the keeper of that truth? Back at Windsor, Catherine watched her daughter from the study window. Charlotte was playing with her brothers, laughter echoing across the gardens. So young, so pure, so unaware of the storm brewing beneath her lineage. And yet, she was strong, fierce, much like Diana. That night, as Charlotte prepared for bed, she tiptoed into her mother's room. "Mummy," she whispered. "Yes, darling? Can I see it again?" "The rose." Catherine smiled softly and retrieved the brooch. Charlotte held it up to the light, watching the petals shimmer. She's beautiful, she said. Grandma, how do you know she's beautiful? Catherine asked. I see her, in dreams. She talks to me. Catherine froze. What does she say? She tells me not to be afraid, that I'll understand when the time is right. Months passed. Catherine kept the letter safe in a locked drawer. The media had caught wind of Diana's hidden chest, and speculation exploded across headlines. Camilla was livid. Sources inside the palace claim she wanted the entire archive sealed again. She cannot be allowed to manipulate the family from beyond the grave, she allegedly fumed behind palace doors. But the tide had already shifted. The public was enthralled. The royal family, so guarded for decades, now stood vulnerable under Diana's lingering shadow. And in the center of it all stood Catherine, torn between duty and truth. Then, one crisp autumn morning, Charlotte approached her mother solemnly. I'm ready, she said. For what, my love? To ask. And with that, Catherine unlocked the drawer and gave Charlotte the letter Diana had written decades ago for her. Inside was a single photograph. Faded. Worn. A young Diana holding a baby girl. Eyes wide. Unmistakably royal. And written below, to my firstborn. One day, your sister will find you. And together, the world will know. Charlotte looked up. She's alive, she said. Catherine nodded, tears flooding her cheeks. And so began a journey not just into history, but into revolution. The daughter Diana was forced to hide, was no longer lost, because Charlotte had found her. And Catherine, Diana's spiritual heir, was ready to finish what the people's princess had begun. The silence in the room after Charlotte read the letter was deafening. She held the faded photograph between her fingers, staring at it with wide, steady eyes. Catherine watched her daughter closely, unsure whether to feel terrified or proud. The moment they had both been unknowingly walking toward was here, and it had come not with fanfare or royal ceremony, but in hushed breath and trembling hands. Is she really out there? Charlotte asked. Catherine crouched beside her. I believe so. And now, I think we're meant to find her. Charlotte nodded, her voice calm. Then let's find her. But searching for a woman the crown had tried to erase was no simple matter. The palace had always been skilled at controlling narratives, at burying scandals beneath titles and duty. This wasn't just a family secret. This was a truth that could change the royal bloodline, threaten succession, and shake the very foundation of the monarchy. Catherine knew they couldn't trust just anyone. And so, quietly, without alerting the palace or even William, she turned to someone unexpected. Lady Sarah McCorquodale once again. I believe she's alive, Catherine told her, showing her the letter and the photo. Sarah's face grew pale. Then you must be careful. If she exists, there are people who would do anything to keep her hidden. Catherine hesitated. Do you know where we should begin? Sarah opened a desk drawer and retrieved a file that had long been gathering dust. There's a name, she said. A woman Diana saw frequently in 1983. A private physician who disappeared shortly after Diana's final visits. Her name was Dr. Beatrice Cormier. Last known address, Avignon, France. Catherine didn't hesitate. Within a week, she arranged a private visit to France under the pretense of a royal wellness retreat. Only a handful of staff knew. William, still unaware of the full truth, believed she needed time away. And with Charlotte staying at Balmoral with her brothers, Catherine boarded the plane with a letter tucked close to her heart and a mission rooted in destiny. In Avignon, the air smelled of lavender and smoke. The cobblestone streets whispered old secrets as Catherine followed the trail left behind decades ago. And at the edge of the old quarter, in a house half swallowed by vines, she found it, the residence of Dr. Beatrice Cormier. An elderly woman answered the door, cane in hand, eyes sharp despite her age. You shouldn't be here, she said before Catherine could speak. You know who I am? Catherine asked softly. I know Diana's eyes when I see them, Beatrice whispered. Catherine stepped forward. I believe you delivered a child for her. A girl. Not in the palace. Quietly. Off the record. The woman paused, then nodded once. It was the most dangerous thing I've ever done. But Diana insisted. She said the baby couldn't be raised in the palace. Said there were threats. Real ones. From inside. Where is she now? Catherine asked. Beatrice hesitated. She was adopted under a false identity. I never learned the new name. But I gave Diana one thing. A way for her daughter to find her if the time ever came. She disappeared into the back of the house and returned minutes later with a worn leather book. Inside was a note and a locket. The note read, For her. When the truth begins to stir. Back at Windsor, Catherine laid the locket on her desk and wept. The locket contained a photo of Diana and the newborn again, but this time, tucked behind it, was a faded hospital document. Date of birth, September 3, 1983. Sex, female. No name listed. A mother. A daughter. A secret forced into silence. And the woman, whoever she was now, would be 42 years old. Catherine finally told William everything. At first, he refused to believe it. Another child? Hidden all these years? My mother would have told me. She tried, Catherine said. She left breadcrumbs. She trusted Charlotte to follow them. William sat in stunned silence. I need to find her, Catherine said gently. Before someone else does. William finally nodded. Then we'll do it, together. But even as they planned, danger lurked. Back in London, Queen Camilla had gotten wind of Catherine's sudden travels. A royal aide had seen flight logs. A courier had intercepted a sealed letter bearing Diana's insignia. Camilla summoned her most trusted advisors. She's digging, Camilla said coldly. She's closer than ever. What do? We stop her. And if the girl is found, she must never step foot on royal soil. Behind Camilla's words was something colder than anger. Fear. Because if Diana's hidden daughter was alive, she would be older than William. And that raised a terrifying possibility. Could the crown have been meant for someone else all along? Meanwhile, Catherine and William began narrowing their search. Using the DNA on the locket and a secret investigation team comprised of trusted royal genealogists and cybersecurity experts, they ran a silent test across global genealogy databases. And then, a hit. A woman living in Scotland. Name: Isla Catherine Spencer. Age: 42. Occupation: human rights lawyer. Known for her work protecting orphan children and trafficked women. No social media. No interviews. But one curious detail stood out. She bore a striking resemblance to Diana. Catherine and William made contact under the guise of a charity outreach event. When Isla arrived at the estate for what she believed was a legal consultation regarding global aid work, she was led into the study, where Catherine waited, alone, holding the rose brooch. Isla paused. What is this? She asked. Catherine rose slowly, extending her hand. It belonged to your mother. Isla laughed nervously. My mother died when I was a baby. I was adopted. She never stopped loving you, Catherine whispered. Her name was Diana. And I believe she was your mother. The moment cracked the air open. Isla backed away, disbelief flooding her face. This is mad, she said. Catherine stepped closer. Look at this letter. The dates. The photos. The DNA. You are her daughter, Isla. Tears welled in Isla's eyes. No. No, this can't, this isn't real. But it was. And in that moment, Isla collapsed into Catherine's arms, weeping. That night, Charlotte met her aunt for the first time. They spoke for hours, unfiltered and instinctive. Despite the age gap, something spiritual bound them. Two girls touched by Diana's love, across time and space. She said you'd find me, Isla whispered. Even when I didn't know I was lost. Charlotte nodded. She chose you first. But she gave us both her fire. Now, the royal family stands on the brink. The truth cannot be hidden anymore. The public demands answers. The monarchy is panicking. And Queen Camilla has begun calling in favors from the shadows of the past, pulling strings to control the narrative. But Diana's daughters are ready. Catherine, Charlotte, and now, Isla. 3 women, 3 generations, bound not by blood alone, but by truth. And their story is only just beginning.